The undead, also known as revenants, are the walking corpses of the living. Almost all religions around the world discuss these cursed beings that ancient humans knew as again walkers, leading to many variations in their description. The origin of these creatures is typically linked to the primordial origin of death in the universe, with many legends depicting the murderous birth of these horrific and voracious entities. In the ancient Shinto religion of Japan, the goddess Izanami was once a radiant, life-giving divinity associated with motherhood and birth, as well as creation, forging existence alongside her husband Izanagi. Whilst giving birth to another of her many children, this one called Kagutsuchi, the godly flames that this newborn divinity generated instantly upon his birth incinerated his own mother. Her husband Izanagi, unable to accept her demise, pursued her to the bowels of creation, the underworld, and indeed he found his wife within the darkness of death. Making him swear not to look upon her, she agreed to lay together with him in the dark realm. Still curious, however, Izanagi generated a bright light to look upon his beloved. To his horror, he saw that she was now emaciated and rotten, a myriad of vile insects and demons clinging to her divine, but now broken free. He fled as his now undead wife pursued him, and raged that he had broke his promise. He sealed off the path to the realm of the dead, and as he did so, his wife swore that for every new life he created, an equal number of lives would be taken for the rest of eternity. Such was how the balance between life and death came to be. Izanami is one of the only divine figures truly described with significant undead features, unlike entirely reborn figures such as the Egyptian Osiris. Combined with her own primordial nature, she may very well be the principal origin of the Walking Dead in lore. Tales abound of a European entity known as the Yanku, often seen as the Lord or Prince of the Dead. This being came to be when death, known predominantly as the Grim Reaper, made a contract with a human, typically described as a prince. Whilst the terms of this strange contract varied, the prince was ultimately unable to meet its requirements and would be turned into an eternal servant of the Reaper, recruiting others to join his ghostly retinue. He's depicted as being the first ghost or shade, with some origins even suggesting him to have once been the now deceased son of Adam and Eve. Koshei the Deathless is another infamous undead figure of unknown but lengthy age. His name refers to bone as well as skeleton, and he is generally described as being an old zombie-like figure. He is also often seen as the embodiment of death, and at times even as a spouse of the goddess of death herself. Whether he is the true ancestor of the corporal dead, or simply an especially powerful monster, he is one of the oldest and most notable undead figures to exist in the old world. Litu is an infamous figure in vampire literature, often conflated with the Abrahamic Lilith based on etymology. The origins of her curse unknown, it is suspected that either the supreme god or some other deity damned her to undeath and perpetual hunger for blood for some crime that is unknown till this day. This triad represents the three primary groups of undead that are commonly discussed within theology. As a race, the undead generally possess a decaying appearance, sporting rotting flesh and often lacking limbs and various other body parts. Some, however, can use their powers to disguise these horrific features, living a semblance of a normal life as humans, with no mortals being the wiser. As they are already deceased, the dead do not have lifespans in the usual sense. Some can live eternally through twisted arcane means, but usually in order to maintain their twisted parody of life, they must drain the life essence of living creatures, lest their own bodies crumble away. This often takes the form of blood, said in legend to be a potent source of life force, which many undead indulge in aside from simply vampires. The undead can be classed into multiple strains, each possessing their own unique traits and abilities. A lot of these traits can be seen overlapping among some of them, and such entities are treated with extreme caution and wonder. Zombies are the shambling physical remnants of the dead, usually mindless monsters given locomotion by dark powers such as necromancy. They remain the standard icon of the undead race, occurring in multiple films and games as the main antagonists. Despite popular depictions, most mythical zombies possess superhuman strength, easily overpowering average humans with little effort. They are usually seen in large groups, as their masters often raise them to act as shock troops. Despite that, some zombies display significant levels of intelligence, such as the Effexta of Europe. Such especially powerful or perceptive corporal undead prove that zombies can be much more than mere cannon fodder for dark mages and the like. Ghosts can be considered the opposite of zombies. Unlike their physical counterparts, they are spiritual in nature, and in order to interact with the physical plane, they rely on psychic abilities as well as possession, which leads to the popular phenomenon of a haunting. They can range from amicable to extremely violent, and as a whole tend to be quite emotionally volatile entities. Even the more benevolent of their number are to be handled with care, as certain moves regarding who or what they are guarding might be viewed as a threat to their property. Another iconic variant of undead, vampires are creatures that maintain their own life by feeding on the blood of the living. Vampires vary greatly from one another, with some being able to maintain a perfect human disguise, whilst others look like the predatory monsters they try to hide. Modern myths regarding vampires have disguised how dangerous these creatures truly are, with many vampires being the risen corpses of the worst sinners of mankind, or quickly indulging their primal instincts. This isn't a universal marker, however, as some vampires do manage to maintain a significant portion of their former humanity, such as Hindu Vitalas converting to Dharma worship, or Slavic Upirs protecting the locals or their own mortal families. Liches are well known in popular role-playing games worldwide, but their origins are quite ancient. Various cultures tell tales of powerful mages that secluded themselves in dark towers or palaces, living for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and using fell magic to bring disaster to anyone unlucky enough to live close by. The most infamous example would be the legendary Koshé the Deathless, but similar entities exist in other traditions, such as African and Asian legends. As the living dead are often created as servants of much higher powers, they usually tend to be mindless, predatory, or both, preying on the living out of a hatred for life itself, or simply following the orders of the ones who raised them. That said, the more powerful undead entities display unique traits, such as great intellectual ability and self-awareness, which only serves to make these creatures even more dangerous. Such beings may have even willingly cursed themselves with undeath, their desires to live forever causing them to delve into dark paths to achieve this goal, no matter the cost. As previously stated, undeath is usually the result of a curse placed as a punishment for some form of crime. As a result, many undead beings tend to be the remnants of criminals such as warmongers, cannibals, molesters, and other similarly vile members of mankind. However, benevolent undead beings do exist, usually of the phantasm variety, but these more amicable beings rarely wander the earth as frequently as their more malignant counterparts, as they are more at peace and as such nowhere near as restless, taking more of a guardian role regarding their territories. Such figures go by various titles, such as the Grateful Dead. All undead display the parasitic ability to drain life force to some extent. They tend to be skilled in the use of curses as well, such as in the spreading of plagues and nightmares, or creating even more undead via infection. How this leech-like sustenance is sustained varies. Vampires are known to subsist almost solely on blood, whereas zombies acquire their energy from blood-filled flesh. Ghosts either drain one's life energy directly or take over the physical body. Many among the living dead also possess various magic, mystic, and psychic abilities, using these techniques to either blend in with the mortal humans or make their hunts more interesting. The weaknesses of these beings are just as varied as their powers, involving either decapitation or the burning of their bodies to ash, both of which are the most common methods. Exorcisms are also employed, usually with ghosts, but can be extended to the other living dead. While light is depicted as a weakness, a powerful enough undead will be unaffected by such a limitation, in which case the best advice is to flee, or at least attempt to do so, that contact with such a powerful creature might mean the hunter is already doomed.